we have music. Welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour podcast, episode 101. Hi, Marcus. What's up?
Not much. How's it going?
Good. Marcus did not tell me we were going to have music. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
If you can see us in person, I'm drinking Busch lattes.
Gross.
Shannon's got to drive the water, and Tim Lindsley brought his own, and it's a king can of Busch Lights. So that's pretty cool. If you can't see it, it's pretty funny. And Shannon, you can't drink because?
Driving to Louisville.
For?
Volleyball.
All right, so who do we have here? Go ahead, guys. Introduce yourselves.
Ladies first.
I'm Shannon. I am a new quarterback in New Berlin. So I started right after Thanksgiving.
Awesome. And you went through a 12-week boot camp?
9-week.
9-week boot camp. Yep. Okay, great. So you've been here, when did you start boot camp? In?
December.
And
early.
So you've really only been out on the streets, if you will, for 60 days?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And other side of the spectrum, Tim Lindsley.
Yeah, I'm Tim Lindsley. I've been here since 1991. I've been here since 1991. Came straight out of tech school. Albert hired me. Been here for quite a while.
That's a lot of years. So Tim was like a veteran when I got here, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't start till 96, so Tim already had been here 5 years. And my dad and Tim shared an office.
It was
Believe it or not.
interesting.
How
many years? It was only a couple years, 3 at the most, maybe. But it was always interesting sitting next to Albert. You learned a lot. You learned a lot of things you didn't want to know.
And it was an 8 by 10. It was 8 by 10.
It was tiny.
It was tiny.
It was really tiny. Some of the things that man ate, I can't describe. But Joni always brought him lunch, so it was always interesting to see what he's going to have.
Radish sandwiches had to be one of the highlights.
Radish sandwiches is one of the best things.
Yeah.
The pickled cow tongue, I did not care for whatsoever. So it was fun to watch him.
Yeah, that's
fun.
That's great.
Yep, a lot of good times.
So kind of bringing them both on as quote unquote the modern day quarterback at Drexel, which is probably the only one in the industry that's really doing to a non-commission based sales with limited accounts. So very interesting. I had read this before and I just read this. Like I don't want to start with this. Really interesting. I'm reading a book on. It's called the. I'll think of it. Infinite Games by. Google that. See, Infinite Games. Somebody's going to want to read it because I said it. Infinite Games by Seth Godin, right? Is that famous?
Could be, yeah.
Author? Yeah, something like that. So we'll get that up, and I'm reading that, and the story was in the book, and I've heard the story before, so we'll start with that.
Oh, Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, I'm sorry, yep. And it's Infinite Games, right? The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, also a very famous author. So it's a really, really, really good book. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a book, just to think differently about business and life. And one of the things it mentioned was how we're always in a lot of hurry. It's a busy time of year for you guys.
Yep.
Shannon even being new busy.
Yep.
Right? And Tim's been doing this a very long time. Shannon's been in sales a long time. I think in general in life, people think busy is a good thing. Oh, I bet you're busy, Shannon. Oh, yeah, busy. You just actually said it. You didn't even know you said it before. You said, well, it keeps me busy, right? Because she's got to go to Louisville for volleyball tonight. Interesting story. At a seminary school, so these men were going for priests. This is in 1973. And they wanted to do a psychology of empathy and how much people care. And they wanted to see if it was related to being busy. So they challenged different individuals. They didn't know they were being set up to give a speech on the Good Samaritan. You're all familiar with the Good Samaritan.
Yep.
You walk, Jesus comes across and helps out this Good Samaritan that nobody else helped. So they're supposed to give a speech as a Good Samaritan. And a third of the people were told to be there at 4 o'clock, each individuals. And they weren't hurried, and about 60% stopped, which seems really still low, but about 60% stopped. The other third was told 4 o'clock initially, and then they sent them a message and said, no, you need to be here at 3:30. So they were hurried. Only 40% stopped. Then they took a different group, and they were supposed to give the same speech. Again, this is a speech on a Good Samaritan, and they had it set up so they had a kind of a drunken guy in an alleyway, right? But they could obviously see him. And they said, you have to be here immediately. We totally screwed up. So get here as quick as you possibly can. 10% stopped. a few people actually walked over the person because they were in such a hurry to get there. Super sad, right? So I think, I thought about that for today talking to you guys, and I've worked with Tim and we worked 55, 60-hour weeks and we were a train wreck. Correct, Tim?
Exactly.
I mean, people sometimes hearken, if you hear that shit, Shannon, oh, it used to be better back in the day or something. They're full of shit. Because we were working 10, 12-hour days and then Saturdays 7 to 12.
Yep.
And maybe sometimes at night, whatever it took. Very normal. And we did that at least 10 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year.
Exactly.
A little bit of breaks. But I guess I go back to that. And why we're doing this all is that Good Samaritan. And I know that when I'm in a good spot at work, I've went back to about 40 hours, really tried to. Man, I get the same amount of much done, but I'm a way nicer person. I might actually talk to you for a little bit.
A lot happier.
A lot happier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I have way better ideas. And I can think through the ideas. Not just go, 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 go. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I thought it was a great story. So I guess... Shannon, again, we think we're a different industry. Maybe I'm totally wrong, or a different sales organization. I'll ask you first, and I'll ask Tim. Both the same question. For Tim, it's what has changed. For Shannon, what is this like? It's got to be quite unexpected coming from B2B sales and a direct sales, and even stuff you've learned your whole life. What a salesman is meant to chase. Can you kind of explain how that feels to be a Drexel quarterback salesperson?
Yeah. So my B2B sales role was pavement pounding, and it was 60 businesses a day, and that was, not including corporate businesses, so...
Highly commissioned, I'm assuming.
Yeah, only commission.
Only commission, right?
Yep. And so going through that, and then going into the restoration industry where it's salaried commission, not as hardcore chasing every single day, and then coming to Drexel and 40 hours... even in my shoe was, we're working 40 hours. And I'm like, what is that? So
that's part-time.
Yeah.
Right? That's what Tim and I thought too.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And just having the support has been huge for me. And that was the biggest thing I noticed coming into this industry, and specifically Drexel, was having the support from a sales side.
What does support mean, though? Because I think sometimes support feels like people do my shit work, which we've talked about a lot. They don't. Support from leadership that you can work 40, that you're not pressured to sell, or support within your team to help you get things done? Like, what do you mean by support?
All of it. Being in New Berlin, Matt, Flitter.
Shout out to those guys.
Though, that support and just saying, hey, we want to make sure you guys are working your 40. What do we have to do to get you there so that you're not overwhelmed? If you are working your 40, having the support from specialists, just other team members, other quarterbacks, me being so new, knowing that I can ask those questions and be supported to work 40 hours, and then the sales side of it, not commissioned, everybody's still willing to help everybody, and that's a huge servant leadership to me, that I love about this company, and I'm very appreciative for it.
It was really an unintended consequence of going non-commission based was... and I'm loving it, and we're still not there yet, because it just takes so much time. It's been so many decades, and again, so much perception of just when you grow up what a salesperson is. Seeing other salespeople, and it's not because other salespeople didn't want to help them, but they were so busy they just didn't have the time.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like they were bad people, and I think when we first did this, it came across wrong. Well, Joel thinks we're bad people. I'm like, no, I love you guys, but you don't have the time to help. You have the time, but you have the time for one of your favorites, right, that sits next to you. And you kind of got to pick a favorite, because I can't teach all four of you. Right? Or I can answer a quick question, but it's going to be real short and brash, and you're still going to be confused, but I answered, right? So I think that's been a huge component. For Tim, what have you seen in the changes? We've been doing this. Last year at this time, it was still all really new for everybody. I think everybody was still scared shitless and probably didn't even know it was real.
Yep.
Now a year later, which is still really, really early in this process. It'll take years to digest this and figure out really what's the best path. What are the biggest changes for that you've seen with you yourself, your customers, your company, whatever you want to call it?
Obviously, I think the biggest change that happened to us was the pandemic, of course. That changed us, it changed our customers, it changed our suppliers. So that really affected us heavily. Technology, of course, affects all of us. It gives the homeowners more choices good or bad, whichever way you want to look at it. I think it makes them think that we can do more, get things quicker, get things cheaper, get things easier. Technology hurts us, in my opinion, in some ways, and it helps a lot, of course. But the biggest changes, which we all saw, were the long lead times, the huge price increases that really, really threw a wrench into this whole business. And with people being the way they acted during the pandemic, I think a lot of them are carrying that through even now. I don't want to say they were lazy, but I think a lot of people took advantage of it. I really do. So I think that's probably our biggest change right now. Going on non-commission, it's working. I can see it at our store. There's a lot of guys that are a lot happier going on 40 hours. I'm one of them. I love it. But I still think Joel hit it right on the head. I think you can work 40 hours and you can still get as much done, if not more. I don't know how, if you're just doing it faster or whatever, but it just seems cleaner.
Well, I think it's really focused. You know, if you look back, Tim, and it was really true, we called Saturday mornings catch-up days.
Yeah, it was.
You know what they were? They weren't catch-up days yet. You know what they were? We were fucking burned out.
Yeah.
They were donut days and survival days.
Yeah. You didn't get much done on Saturdays.
Because you couldn't. You were just burned out, but you called it catch-up days because at least you got your office clean.
Yeah.
And you were unwinding there, which is almost sad because we should have been unwinding with our families or in nature or wherever, whatever unwinding is for you. Yeah. And we didn't. We had a work Saturday, so we kind of unwound together as a team. Brought us close tighter, I think. But, yeah, I think we thought we were always super busy, but we weren't really focused.
Yeah.
I know my 40 hours now, it's like I'm super on it. Like I know I got to get my shit done. I always was, but now it's even, and I think we say no a lot more, you know, or things are shorter. When you work a 40-hour work week, you don't let meetings linger on. You're like, okay, we're done here, which is great. It's impactful. Why let them linger? Yep. You know, if I know I'm working 6 to 5, I don't really care. But that's kind of where the stress starts building in because it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. So
I believe the other thing is going on that 40 hours really helps family-wise because there's a lot of things that you miss working those 50, 60 hours. You know, you miss sons, daughters' games. Now with 40 hours, I don't think you miss that as much.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I really don't know if I ever missed anything, quote unquote, but my weekends were burned out. I didn't have anything. You and I didn't get anything done.
Yeah.
So Saturday afternoon, Sunday meant mowing the lawn, doing the laundry, doing chores. I remember it would be like Sunday at supper, which is funny looking back. Sunday at supper would be like it was finally the weekend. It was like, oh, hey kids, Pam, hey everybody, you guys all doing good? And that'd be like Sunday like at 5:30, and that's just how I grew up. You know, Saturdays we take an afternoon nap, get chores done, maybe go out and drink, party, blow off steam, whatever that was. In fact, even the work hard, play hard was a huge thing for me in my 20s, 30s, maybe even early 40s. But really it was work really hard and then drink to just decompress.
Yep.
Like the play hard was kind of, it was just like I need to decompress. Like I need to have a drink. I shouldn't say it that way, but it felt that way looking back kind of. So yeah, I feel like my weekends now are actually free. I could actually go fishing Saturday morning if I wanted to and not feel like, oh my God, who's going to mow the lawn? So I can say yes more on the weekends and no more during the week, if that makes sense. So that's really cool. Yeah, and technology, I think, has been huge, and the COVID thing was huge, and we're still dealing with those delays, and I do think the manufacturers have taken advantage of that.
Yes, they have.
And lazy, profit, all of it, greed, I think it's all of it. I don't think they think about the builder, they think about the distributor because that's their customer. And I think manufacturers haven't taken the responsibility of thinking about the local builder. I mean, kind of a self-break here, but that's why we're so obsessed about becoming our own distribution. Yep. And I was in a meeting with Jay Enright, and he had the light bulb moment of our vinyl siding program that we're going to be bringing out. And he goes, oh, you guys want to be Amerhart. We're going to be Amerhart. And he got really excited. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. Yep. It's like, so we're just going to have it all.
That's what we want.
Yeah, well, that's what the builder wants.
Yep.
Not only what we want, but that's what the builder wants.
Yep.
I don't think any of us appreciate how hard it is for us to get a special order item, but also how hard it is for the builder to wait.
Yeah.
Right? Both are true. If we can just say, no, we have this and we have all of it, Oh my gosh, could you imagine, guys?
Yep. They're going to love us.
Oh yeah, we're gonna love it. I mean, we're gonna love to sell those products. We're gonna be very proud of them. And then when you meet with these, when you bring that kind of stocking position, and we're talking about selling things 25, 35% less expensive as well. So pretty cool. Shannon, and Tim. So we've also done, because of the non-commission sales, we've done monthly development training. Again, I think something no one is doing in the entire country. Shannon, you weren't here for that, but you did work B2B, so you understand that. Our salesmen just would not relax that training. They wouldn't have come to it. They wouldn't take notes because they were just, their hair would be on fire. They're like, you paid me to sell stuff. I don't get paid to sit here all day. That was a real thing. So we would just kind of blow through training as quick as we could, get their attention for 15 minutes at the counter. They would digest it maybe if they were there or were in a good spot, but it was very, very hard to train. Almost impossible launch a new product or anything like that, correct, Tim?
That is correct, yeah.
So can you explain to me how you feel monthly development's going, or what happens there if there's somebody who never doesn't understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, so going through the 9-week boot camp, I mean, it was a lot of information in 9 weeks, and I think one of the biggest values we had was being able to do takeoffs right then and there. We had some product knowledge, but then going into development days and having information from product standpoint, lead time, our merchant team, it's been valuable to me as a new quarterback to have that information up front and maybe not be given all of it day after day after day, but every month you get a little bit more information. That has made me more comfortable in my role starting out, and just being able to have a team surrounded that's here to help everybody, which is pretty cool.
I mean, I guarantee you we wouldn't have brought a Shannon on 5 years ago, because we would have said, who's going to train her? Yep. Who's going to take time with her? How many years is it going to take for her to get up to speed? We just wouldn't have brought you aboard. And you probably would have, if you would have interviewed even, you would have been like, this is nutso.
It did happen. I told Matt, I said, I just want you to know, like, I don't have background here. And he's like, it's all good.
Good.
And
good.
so, it was really cool.
But 5 years ago, if you would have heard that word, and you would have been...
Yeah, because there's no training. Yeah,
we'd have been like, you have to, it's really funny in our industry. You have to do this. I've said this a million times, right? So that you have to do this for 20 years to be able to be a salesman. But, we just can't find young people that want to be salesmen. Yeah. I'm like, do you realize what you're effing saying? Right? Like, yeah, you got to be here 20 years to get it. But, these young people just don't want to be salesmen. I'm like, do you see you're putting this obstacle out there that's impossible, and we're gonna all die together and not have salesmen. Yeah. So I'm so glad we went down this path.
Yep. Nice to see the fresh faces. There's good ideas. So the biggest thing about QB development days that I like is the fact that if there's a product that comes up, it's spoke about. It's discussed. Are we going to keep it or are we going to drop it? I like that. I never like the fact that something just gets dropped. There's things that did. There probably had to be, but I like the fact that
it wasn't explained. And
it wasn't explained.
But also I didn't have.
That's all right.
And again, that goes on me. I mean, I pulled a lot of products, but the problem was we didn't have a format to explain
exactly.
It would have been. It'd be an email, and I would try to explain it in an email, but you'd read it. Tim would read it in his car. You'd read it at your desk. There'd be a sidebar conversation. Mm-hmm. No one would really know. Or maybe you don't even really read the email. You just go to get it 3 weeks and it's not there because you just kind of zoom through the email. And then I'm like, I effing told you we don't have it, and I told you why, right? So there was a lot of angst with that. There really was.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that it's all discussed now.
Yeah,
so it goes out all 3 days. You kind of, I don't know if you vote on it, if you want to call it voting.
Yeah, well, you guys really are the voice of the builder. Since we can't go out and poll 1,000 builders, right? So you guys really not only are your voice is important, but you really are the voice of the builder. So yes. We were just doing that with the merchant launch, right? We have a bunch of things for next month to talk about, saying, hey, we're pretty close to pulling the trigger on this. What do you guys think, right? How it really happens for feedback.
And that's the part I like.
And so I love it. It's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing. I mean, we would have probably brought GAF shingles in, but the team was like, no, I don't think we can sell it. And it's like, well, if I learn anything about salesmen, Shannon, if they tell me they can't sell it, I really believe them. They will prove that to you, Marcus. They'll be like, nope, I told you I couldn't sell it. Like, you got to listen.
Well, the nice part about us is a lot of our quarterbacks come from the construction background. A lot of them do.
Right.
I don't know how many exactly, but Jay Enright just comes to mind, and there's a lot of knowledge there. Those guys. Corey Lind was the same thing. He's used those products. He knows what they're like. He knows if they're good or bad. So that knowledge is very valuable.
Yeah, and what I like is, but we still have a ways to go, is having all of our salesmen not say I, my customers, and I like this product. I'm seeing that slowly happen. And again, that's going to take years. This is the best for Drexel and my customers and me. Mm-hmm. That's very difficult for a salesman, for any salesman in any industry, right? Yeah. Like, this is actually, okay, this is what we're going to bring in for the team and me and my customers, right, or our customers. So but I can see that. That's still a challenge, because they always go, I do this, or I do it this way. And it's like, that's cool, but we're making a decision for 125 salesmen and a few thousand builders. So we're kind of representing all of them at this meeting, so that's kind of fun. We've been kind of a sales pitch positive. Let's go a little. What do you guys think is going to be the biggest challenge with Drexel? What do you fear? What kind of keeps you up at night? What do you wonder about? And that's okay. I mean, I've got concerns too. What would you, again, being new, being a veteran, like, boy, I hope we don't. I hope we have our eyeball on this, or this might be challenging for our company going forward. It's a lot more easy being positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
In stuff like this, anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you're a volleyball coach. It's like say negative things about your team, right? Like, that's really hard. Maybe it's really easy. It depends on the team, right?
It could be a little easy this year.
Right. Hope you girls aren't listening. We love you all.
The biggest challenge. I mean, for me,
even if it's industry, right? Like,
yeah.
What's a challenge maybe in the next couple of years that, a black swan, which means, like what could be on the horizon that might be a problem? Go ahead, you were going to say something.
That's a tough question for me. I think just being new, like, my challenge is understanding the industry more and more every single day, being as much of a sponge as I can, but I don't think anything scares me or keeps me up at night or I'm feared. It's
so
just...
saying being new, what tools do you wish Drexel would have given you or would give you, or if I only had this, or what would make life easier?
I don't know.
We also asked this at the expo too, but I don't think we asked it to you and Jordan. What do you think you missed out of boot camp? Or maybe you've gotten that now over the last month or two. But what did you miss that you're like, I wish I'd had this in boot camp?
I think hearing comparison from boot camp 1.0 to boot camp 2.0, we got a lot of takeoff and estimating practice that the first boot camp didn't have. But we also kind of wanted to reverse it where we evened out with the product knowledge.
You didn't have as much product knowledge.
Yeah, so it's balancing that out.
Deep enough.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest challenge right now, is knowing enough to be dangerous.
So the industry, when I say the industry, I've been to national conferences kind of my whole life. For a decade I did. I don't go to them anymore. But, the industry always said, and I always believed in that, it took about 3 years to, at least even start as a salesman. So what we did in the boot camp was okay, what do you actually need to know in 3 years? And if we could just give you a focus time and condense it and not piece it together over 3 years, so that's what we tried to do. What is the actual known things, and then train to the known things. So that's good feedback for the next round for sure, because that is that balance of product knowledge. I mean, there's product knowledge, straight time organization skills, management, learning our software, and then there's the takeoff piece.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of little parts to piece it all together. So
yeah, and it was, comparing with Spencer and Alex that were in that first round, and then John and I going through the second round, it was cool to be able to hear how they went through it, and then hearing how we went through it and being like, oh, I wish we would have had a little bit more of that, and they were like, well, we wish we had a little bit more of what you had. So being able to balance that out, I think, is huge. Cool. Tim?
Probably about the biggest thing that concerns me is I love our growth. You like to grow. It happens. It's got to happen. We all understand that. I just hope we're not growing too fast.
Tim said that before.
I have. So, I have. But I'm from the old school, of course.
Although the old school, we had how many people?
When I started, we had 7.
Yeah. Right. So the growth has the growth has worked out. Yeah. We have over 800 now.
Yeah.
I think Tim probably brought that up just so you're aware. To me, we were probably at 50 people, and he's like, I just hope we're not growing too much. So it seems to work out, but keep going.
It's good. It's a good feeling. I understand our challenges are to find the right people to fill those spots as we grow. My concern is, especially on our merchant team, very young. We need some spots filled there. I wish they had more training or knowledge, because I feel some of them are making purchases for us that they don't even know what it's for. The product, they don't even know what they're buying. So I wish they had some more training. But just a growing process concerns me a little bit. I know you've always got the pulse of it, so that's just a couple of things that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and I feel the foundation of, it's totally warranted. I mean, we all worry about our growth on some levels. I love the foundational pieces of the sales force, though. That's a very good root piece. Yep. It gives us a lot of solid foundations. A little bit on the merchants. And Tim, you probably don't know that of my 40-hour work week, I'm with them 35 hours, and I'm loving it. I mean, I feel like Tim and Albert in 1991.
I guess I'm not worried. I'm just concerned.
No, understood. Yeah,
there's a difference there.
Totally different. Yeah. And again, I would be concerned too. They are young and inexperienced, but I'm having a blast. I really have not been in that department in 10 years, and we really haven't reviewed a lot of our product lines in 20, 30 years.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we've had many for no one really knows why.
Yeah, we've got stuff there that there's no reason it's there.
Correct, absolutely.
None
we have 2,600 active SKUs and 19,000 SKUs in spruce.
Yeah.
So we have lots of cleanup to do and lots of holes. We have products that aren't moving and products we need to bring in that move. Yep. It's hard for you guys to complete an order because we don't have it all in stock. We have 80% of the order in stock, which is insane. I'm like, bring it in. Really fun fact, which we're not quite to the finish line left. So kind of like that. But again, these new people bring a lot of energy too,
Yeah, they do. Yep.
And bring different ideas. So they're actually, I just left the meeting before this, we're bringing 80 more SKUs of Simpson. So we have 80, we're going to bring another 80 in. And the data, and again, that's not just because that's what Joel wants to do. We've ordered all 80 3 times or more already this year. We've ordered somewhere on the 400 times we've ordered Simpson special hangers in. 400. Yeah. So if we stock them, what an amazing leap. Now, the crazy part is that's one thing to stock it. The problem is nobody knows if you have them.
Yep.
So now we have to give you guys a really easy and spruce. And I hope it's spruce because then we talked about using a spreadsheet. Problem with the spreadsheet is who's maintaining the spreadsheet? Comes out all shiny. In 6 months is it defunct. Then we got to get our estimators using it and our designers using it. But then we'll have 160 hangers in stock, which will be as much as anybody in the state. So if you think about it, 3 years from now, it'll be really cool. A framer in Pleasant Prairie will say, how long? How much money? Oh, just because they probably have that at Drexel, they stock all of them. So we're doing that in every little department. That's going to take years, but that's part of the merchant's mission isn't really that. The buyers are really Paul, Rice, and Haley, and they just simply buy. The merchants are just really trying to identify the best products in our industry to bring in. And I'm in every one of those meetings, Tim. So that gives me some confidence because I'm in there.
Good.
So they don't have it's a weird department because they don't have a boot camp right now. So they don't have product knowledge and they aren't going through a 9-week boot camp, but they have me every single day. And I haven't really brought a team up to speed, but they're seeing me through meetings. And it's a different department because it's kind of a little bit like sales, right? It's like sales on the backside. There's a lot of data you have to understand and understand a product. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of, we call it moxie. You just kind of an it factor, right? You got to say, our vinyl siding program, how many colors should we bring in? Nobody knows, right? And nobody can really tell you. So you got to kind of have a moxie.
You got to go by data then.
Data, but then you also got to have a flair for it. You got to have a gut feel. So I like data, and I would just go right off the data, but there's got to be more to it. Like little sales pitch, little like, does that feel right? It's got to be like a sixth sense, And then we have all the bases covered, and they're setting the price, and that's done primarily through secret shopping. But even that's a sixth sense.
Yeah.
What is a Simpson hanger worth? What's the right markup for that? That's a secret science, and I help out with them with that every day. But yeah, I don't know if that hanger's worth $9 or $14. Now, thank God for technology. We can secret shop very quick, or we'd have the merchants in different stores every single day so they can look it up online very quickly to help set that price. But interesting conversation. Marcus, you're always good at a question or two here.
Yeah,
this is good. I'm like sweating. It's awesome.
I guess for Tim, to Shannon, obviously we talked about technology, we've talked about development days, all the things that have changed at Drexel. What's one thing you feel like over time is, from a sales standpoint, like just, the like golden nugget that you can give to Shannon as a new QB that has never changed over time?
Oh boy, communication. Excuse me. You can't over communicate with your customers. Back in the day, we never had cell phones. Joe points out my pager.
You got that pager downstairs?
Yeah, my pager is downstairs.
Hall of Fame here at downtown.
Pain in the ass. Albert didn't like it. I didn't like it. But anyways, stay in touch with them. The best thing you can do is a couple of things I always point out to the new QBs is if you're going to start at 7, make sure your customers know you're there at 7, and be there at 7. Answer phone calls in a timely manner.
In the same token, if you're not available, just say you're not available.
Yeah.
Some of our salesmen have taken it too far, and they just feel 24/7 is. But they never told their customers at 7:00 at night, I just don't answer the phone. They'd be like, cool.
They'd be fine.
So again,
as long as they know that.
That's even communication, right? It's everything's communication.
Yeah. Answer emails, answer voicemails in a timely manner. I know that we in one meeting we had someone talk about the proper time.
Well,
to
if you really
answer
think of it,
email.
it's a psychological thing, right? Like, what is the proper time frame for an email? We'll ask Shannon. Like, what do you expect the response on an email?
24 hours.
Yeah, same day.
Yeah.
Like I will say, same day for email. Text is
Same day.
hour probably. I bet an hour. I'm sorry. I asked you to answer. You said same day.
Yeah.
I disagree. For me, if it's a text, I'm probably freaking out if you don't get back to me in an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably. If I said to you at 9 a.m. and you haven't texted me back at 3, I thought you died.
Yeah. I always feel a text message is more important than a voicemail.
Correct.
A text message to me tells me that my customer wants to get a hold of me urgently.
Yeah.
So the best advice I can give you is try to reply as fast as you can.
Even if it's I'm busy, I'll call you back at 4.
And I love that thing on your phone.
Yeah.
Which it took me a year to figure that out.
Yeah, you can pick which one.
Yeah, so
I don't use that yet, but I should.
I use it. I use it all the time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's communication is going to be your biggest thing. Be upfront with them. When something.
And if I can add to that, and I think the biggest problem with communication, I say this all the time too, is the illusion that it took place. Well, I emailed him that he knows. Yeah. She knows. Are you sure they're understanding that? Which I even said the biggest one that I'm currently on is that weekly mandatory, we're going to sit down for a while and go through this stuff. So they do see what's coming up and you understand what's coming up. Because I think too many times we forward them an acknowledgement or we told them 6 months ago that the shingles are going to be 4 weeks out. They've got 21 different subcontractors coming at their face every day on every
job. They don't
remember
it.
Yeah, so you're like, well, they know. And
they don't.
Like you said, you can't over-communicate. So the illusion that the communication's happening is probably our biggest problem. I think a lot of times we do communicate. The builders simply just, I can't remember when that door's coming in. Help me out, right?
The biggest thing that's helped me lately is setting up a weekly meeting with a customer.
1,000,000%.
My biggest customer is Smith Builders. We meet every Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. I have a spreadsheet with every job on it.
They'll do 100 remodels. We had Todd on here.
It's just
98.
What's on the spreadsheet is just the new homes.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count all the remodels, but that's a very useful product. It gets you communicating with the customer. You might miss something. You might miss an order or something. All of a sudden you're going through this, and all of a sudden you get to the Jones job, and the windows aren't checked off. Well, why aren't they checked off? Well, they're not ordered. So it helps tremendously.
Also, selfishly for Drexel, if they're not checked, if the windows aren't ordered for that job, maybe you didn't get them.
Yeah.
And now you can fight for them. Yeah. Or, you can get ahead of we don't know where we're going to buy the windows for that job. Red flag. Versus back in the day, you drive up to the job site and there is the better windows, and you're like, what the hell? Yeah. And they're like, there's been a problem with your window line. So that's a much better way to proactively sell. I hate the even term sell, to help your builder out and stay in line with all the categories.
Yeah. Communication is the biggest thing I could tell you. Yeah, and be prompt, be honest with them. When something gets effed up, it's going to happen. Don't email them, don't call them. Go face to face with them and say, hey, I did it with a customer. I totally forgot to order all your interior doors, which I did. It's better face to face.
All bad news is, right?
It is, yeah.
Even internal,
it's tough to do.
Even internal bad news.
No.
Right? Why would you send somebody an email over, right? And then, I do think you can actually earn the builder's trust more by telling him you screwed up than trying to make some magic happen on the back end. Mm-hmm. You can do both and be like, I need to make magic happen. I screwed up. You can say, I screwed up. I'm going to see what I can do here. Everybody knows you make mistakes. It's good to own up to it.
We're much more appreciative of you.
Yeah, like muting a podcast. An hour-long podcast.
Yeah, that happened. Hi, Tim O'Brien Holmes.
Shout out.
Really good podcast.
He thought he was going to get fired.
He did. I was just laughing about it. That didn't bother me one bit. I mean, mistakes do happen. So.
Well, we're 36 minutes in, and Shannon's got to get to Louisville. So
yeah,
do we want
ask
to
the
do
question. Yeah, absolutely. You ask it.
All right, so you get one billboard. It's on the highway where everybody can see it. It can mean anything about family, work, life, just in general. Start with Shannon first. What is your billboard and why?
Go Juniors.
Go Hartford first.
Go Hartford, yeah. Go Orioles.
Probably be excellent to everybody. I think, especially we talk about technology and everything gets behind the screen, behind closed doors. Not everything is face to face, and we tend to go down a negative path or whatever that case is. I think it's just being able to spread that to everybody else in a positive manner and just being excellent in your best form. And if that part of your form is 40% that day, then you're giving 40% that day. But if you can give 110, you're giving 110% of your excellent self.
Just give what you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Been thinking about this a lot. Mine would say helpful. I think the biggest thing you can do is ask for help. I feel we've lost some team members because they're afraid to ask for help. Don't do that. Just be helpful in any way that you possibly can. And if you need help, ask.
Yeah, it's very humbling to say, I have no idea. I'm drowning, or I'm stressed, or I'm in a bad spot. But the veterans here can't help anybody if you're not helpful. And I do think sometimes being as helpful as you can, even if you don't know, helps you.
Just talk to them.
But it helps you the opposite way. Being helpful works both ways, too.
Yep.
I think if you're in a bad spot, sometimes going out of your way to help somebody actually makes you feel better, even if you're in a bad spot.
Exactly.
Like, well, I helped them. At least I did something today, right? So I picked up the returns. It was nothing, but I think it makes you feel better. So helpful is awesome. That's great. Thank you guys for coming on. This was awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you. 101.
Yep.
Out. Thanks, guys. Peace.